Okay, so we've talked a bit about critical periods, and we're about to segue into our socialization section of the video. But another consideration that we want to take into account, or something I want to talk about a little bit as a transition from our discussion of critical periods into what we're going to do during socialization, is what we call establishing thresholds or a temperamental baseline for your puppy. So one of the things we do when we bring a puppy home in the beginning, I get an 8-week-old puppy, is I start some diagnostics on that puppy. I take that puppy to different places, I watch its behavior, I handle it, I play with it, I notice what it notices in the world. And by doing this, we're establishing what we call the puppy's thresholds. And thresholds are basically how easy or hard is it to stimulate your dog in a certain aspect of their temperament. And we can talk about thresholds for a lot of different aspects of personality. But let's say a dog with a high threshold is difficult to stimulate in a certain aspect of their personality, and a dog with a low threshold is easy to stimulate in a certain aspect of their personality. And so we might say, what is your puppy's threshold for prey activity? And a high threshold puppy takes a lot of movement to be interested in chasing. A low threshold puppy might want to chase everything that moves. The thresholds themselves don't say anything about the intensity of the responses. So I can have a dog that wants to chase everything but isn't very persistent in their chasing, a low threshold dog with a weak response. Or I can have a dog that wants to chase everything and is very persistent in their chasing behavior, a low threshold dog with an intense response. And I can have a high threshold dog with a weak response, or I can have a high threshold dog with a strong response. And so prey-based behavior, defensive behavior, is your puppy socially sensitive? So does my puppy notice new people? And are they apprehensive or aggressive towards those new people? A low threshold puppy, it notices that stuff more than a higher threshold puppy, right? You can talk about environmental stressors when it pertains to thresholds. Does my puppy notice new places and new surfaces and new things in the environment, sounds, all that? And a lower threshold puppy will notice more things, and a higher threshold puppy will notice less of those things, right? And low versus high isn't necessarily a measure of how successful that dog's going to be in their work, right? But what I want to know is my dog's thresholds, because I can change them. One of the nice things about thresholds is they're modifiable through training, meaning that if I do my work right during my socialization and early training, I can take a low threshold dog and turn that dog into a higher threshold dog. Right? This is their genetic predisposition at a certain stage in their life, but that doesn't mean it's fixed in time. And so by establishing and doing these diagnostics, establishing what I call a temperamental baseline for my dog and their thresholds, it allows me to plan my socialization and training regime to strengthen the areas that need strengthening, and then I put less energy into the areas where the dog is good. And when we're planning a socialization regime, you have to have a different socialization regime for each puppy. And I can have a high threshold puppy has a very different set of experiences structured for it than a lower threshold puppy. So when you're initially getting your puppy, picking it out and bringing it home, that first couple of weeks allows us to kind of establish my thresholds and in temperamental baseline, which will give us a guideline for what we're going to do in training going forward.